Okay, I'm videoing how to prepare the general Tso tofu. So cut the tofu up into blocks, small blocks, and then you want to add in some cornstarch or arrowroot, whichever you prefer. Just going to add some of that in there. Along with that, I typically add in garlic powder. Just going to sprinkle some garlic powder in. And I also will add onion powder. Sprinkle some of that in. You don't want to do too much because you want the cornstarch to coat. Then it's a matter of just moving that around. I've got to put the phone down here for a second. Once you get everything coated, you move it to the pan. I normally do a little bit of spray in the pan to make sure everything is coated and doesn't stick. What I also do, if you have it, use a fork or something to make sure that the tofu cubes do not touch each other and stick together while they're cooking. I normally will let these cook in the pan for a few minutes, and then I'll transfer them to this dish that's been sprayed to ensure that it's non-stick. And I'll put those in the oven on, in our case, on convection broil for a little while to turn them sort of golden brown. Okay, so my first batch is almost ready. You can see here that they're browned on one side, and see what I'm doing here. I'm going to try to turn this guy. There we go. Got him turned. So everything's turned and cooking on the other side. Of course, each block has 6 surfaces. And, you know, to not have to cook each surface, that's why I'll normally let them brown on 2 sides and then put them into the oven on broil so that they can continue to cook. Not good for chopsticks, so kind of hard for me to turn things. There we go. So these are almost ready to go into the oven on broil. So I put the nets back in. You can see I'm going to have to separate them, make sure they're not touching each other. It takes a little bit of work, but you can go around the pan. They will tend to want to stick together when you initially put them in, but if you have some tongs like these or skewers, you can use to separate them off. Okay. And so they're coated with cornstarch. I add the garlic powder and onion powder to give them a little flavor because the cornstarch doesn't have much of a taste to me anyway. Okay. So I'll spray these with a little spray just so they won't stick once I turn them over. Okay, so you can see the first batch here. they're ready to go into the oven on broil, but because I'm just making enough for myself, I'm going to put both blocks of tofu in this pan and put them in the oven on broil so that we can brown all 6 sides of each block. So while the tofu's cooking, I normally will go ahead and slice up some vegetables here. Garlic, broccoli, peppers, onions, and I have some mushrooms in the fridge. So I'll get those guys all ready to be sauteed. And when they're done sauteing, I will then add to them the General Tso sauce and maybe some orange sauce and a little bit of orange juice so that it gives it more of an orange taste. That's just my preference. So here's the tofu, and I'm just going to pop this into the oven at 450. If you have convection broil, probably do a little better, but put it on broil and just leave it in there as long as you like to get the texture that you're after and to brown all sides of the tofu. So I got the mushrooms in there first, and the reason being is that the mushrooms hold water, and if you let them saute a bit, they'll give up that water. You can pour that water out, and then they're ready to absorb whatever flavor you want to give them. The broccoli, I typically put in a pan, throw it in the oven with the tofu. Slide that tofu over some. You see it's cooking nicely there. I'm going to put this broccoli in there and let it broil a little bit also. Now you can see all that water that comes off the mushrooms. So once they saute down, have all that water out of the pan at some point, and then we can start putting the dish together. Okay, so the mushrooms are cooked down, the water is gone. So now we'll go ahead and add the onions and the peppers and the garlic and let those guys saute. I'll also probably add a little more garlic and onion powder, maybe more garlic powder, and chicken style seasoning. It's a vegan product along with that. So let's go ahead and put our vegetables in. So we'll saute these guys together. Add a little more garlic powder to it. So the mushrooms have some flavor. Add also the chicken style seasoning. You normally get this from Country Life. Add some of that. And also the garlic. Good spoon. Love my garlic, so probably do another spoon. All right. So now everything's ready to saute a little bit before we add the sauce. If the tofu is not getting as dark as you like, you can always raise the rack up a little closer to the top. Broccoli is doing well. and probably take that out in a few minutes, but I think I'm gonna let the tofu get a little more brown before I pull it out. Because I want a little more of an orange taste to it, I added my sauce to the bowl and included some orange juice, or you can squeeze it off of an orange. Stir that in, and hopefully it will make it a little more, a little less sweet. If need be, you can add some water and some cornstarch if you want to thicken it up a little more. I think this is kind of loose. It's kind of loose, but I think it'll thicken some in the pan. I'm gonna go ahead and take the broccoli out. I think I've done enough damage to that. There's the broccoli. And the tofu is doing well. I'm going to leave that in just a few more minutes. Let it get a little more golden brown. Normally when I get this at the restaurant, it's typically just served with broccoli around the outer edge of the plate. But because I'm doing it at home, I'd like a few more vegetables, so we're going to include these vegetables around the edge also, and then put our tofu in the middle. So in a minute here, I'm going to add a little bit of the sauce to the vegetables and let them saute with the sauce and get coated pretty good, and then put them in the serving pan, add the tofu to this pan, saute the tofu with the sauce also, and then add it to the serving pan. So I'm now adding the orange sauce to the pan. We're going to let this saute, and then the rest of this sauce we'll add to the tofu. So I got the broccoli around the outer edge of the serving pan, and I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of, and get it come out, a little bit of garlic on the broccoli, because I didn't season it at all. And then once the sauce cooks down, we will add these sauteed vegetables to the serving pan. Let's take a look at our tofu. Oh yes. So I'm going to bring this part to a close. You can see that nice golden brown tofu right out of the oven off broil. Probably eat it just like that, but I'm gonna try to wait until I get the entire dish together. It'll be nice and crunchy on the outside, so you could actually eat it just like this and just put it in some dipping sauce, maybe. Probably too hot to eat right now. So we're close to bringing it all together. The vegetables are nice and sauteed, so they're ready. I'm gonna move serving pan over here. And then I'm gonna do this while I'm recording. Pour the vegetables into the middle of the dish. There we go. And that's what we got so far, but we need our tofu in there. So I'm going to add a little sauce to the pan and then saute the tofu. Save some back just in case. That was hot, so let's go ahead and put our tofu in. All right. And now we'll just saute this tofu. We're just coating it for the most part. So it will have similar flavor. We want it coated, but you don't want to make it too moist that the coating, which is the cornstarch and garlic and onion powder, you don't want that to come off. Because if you make it too soupy, it will start to peel off. You want that coating to still be on there when you eat it. I'm going to turn this up a little bit so that it can get done. And so once we're done, we'll add it on top of the vegetables, or you can dig out a hole in the middle and add the tofu to the center. The tofu is nice and coated, and I'm just going to pour it into the well that I created for it. And there we go. There we have it. I guess we can say it's General Tso / orange tofu with vegetables. And of course you can do some brown rice to serve as your bed and pretty much eat it in a bowl. Hope you enjoy it.